So, since it's pretty much the end of September, I thought I would just talk for a second about 3 books that I either did not finish, so DNF'd, or I don't want to say disliked, but wasn't exactly crazy about during the month of September. So, the first of these is Kingdom Hearts, graphic novel slash manga, I guess manga. So I was kind of expecting to like this. It's a juvenile read, but I feel like I've heard really good things from this about this series, so I was kind of expecting to like it, but I just really did not like the crossover between pretty typical kind of manga character and art setup and a story about Donald and Goofy and Mickey Mouse. Like, that was just a little too much for me, or a little too much of a crossover. The two things are too distant. I don't know. It just didn't quite work for me. Maybe I'm too old for it. And then the story just isn't well done, really. I don't think there would just be there were things where it was just hard to follow what was going on, which is really weird for me to experience with a juvenile or young adult book. Usually, at least in one that's well done, you can follow the story. And so for this, there would be an action panel, but there was no real, like, I had no idea what action was really happening or what was supposed to be happening because the panels previous to it hadn't set it up. So that, like, I could have dealt with the manga Disney crossover by itself, and just chalked it up to me not being a 10-year-old and not really just getting that. That would have been fine. I wouldn't have been excited about it, but I would have finished it. This was a DNF for me. Because I just couldn't get past. This just kept happening so many times in just the first 50 pages or so that I would just be totally confused by what had just happened in some panels, and I just think that shouldn't happen in a well done manga. So, or is it manga? I should look this up. Oh dear. Anyway, so yes, so Kingdom Hearts, Volume 1, Final Mix, did not finish this month. The other thing I did not finish was actually a book of poetry. So I read everything, pretty much every genre except really scary horror stuff, but read pretty much everything. So the next thing I did not finish was a book of poetry. It's called Fox. It's a small collection of poems by Adrienne Rich. This is the first book that I've tried to read by her, first collection I've tried to read by her, and she is a very well-regarded feminist poet from the 20th century. And I was really hoping I would like this. I love poetry. I am into feminism, but I just couldn't get into these poems. This is one of her later works. This came out, these were written, 1998 to 2000. So I believe she was in her 70s at the time that she wrote this. And so, like with the Kingdom Hearts, there could be kind of an age difference, although generally I expect poetry to be a little bit more universal, but I just couldn't get into these poems. I just couldn't find things in them that felt relatable to me. They felt very abstract and sometimes tied into history or into particular works of art that I wasn't familiar with, which is fine. I should have looked them up. So that part is on me. But even the more the poems that were more just about the human condition, that were about relationships, I just couldn't find myself in them. I just couldn't find something that related to my life in them. And I am pretty picky when it comes to poetry. I like poetry. I often like a lot of poetry that's about the natural world, or I like poetry that is very accessible to me and that is relatable to me. I tend to not like academic poetry so much, if that makes sense. So this kind of read as more academic, and a little less accessible and relatable to me personally. That said, since she is so highly regarded as a feminist poet, to my understanding at least, I am going to try, and putting this in a video so I'll remember it, or hold myself accountable, I am going to try to track down some of her earlier collections, and see if there's anything in there that speak to me. She could just be the sort of poet where I need to find a collection that she was writing when she was in her 30s, and maybe that will be more relatable to me personally. So So I would like to dig in a little further and just see if it was that I just happened to pick a particular collection of hers that doesn't speak to me personally, but there could be others that do. Her kind of overall style of the poems is the style I like, kind of free verse, very heavy on metaphor. So I think it's possible that I just picked the wrong collection to get started with Adrienne Rich here. So those are my 2 DNFs, and then the third book I want to talk about is it's called My Life as a Furry Red Monster. What Being Elmo Has Taught Me About Life, Love, and Laughing Out Loud, and it's sort of a memoir from Kevin Clash, who is the actor who plays Elmo on Sesame Street, and invented the character, which is really cool. Because I didn't know how Sesame Street is done or the Muppets or anything. I kind of assumed it was more of like a top-down process, that the creator and the writers would just decide who all the characters were and decide all the stories, but Elmo was actually created by the puppeteer, the actor who has the part. I mean, the puppet had been made. There are lots of puppets made for Sesame Street and the Muppets, and he kind of tried out the laugh that became the signature Elmo laugh, and really made the character of this 3.5-year-old monster really come to life, and he's the Elmo that we know and love. So I did finish this memoir. I ended up only giving it 3 stars on my Goodreads account for a couple of reasons. So I did like hearing more about the person behind such an iconic kids character. Kevin Clash is Black, which was really surprising and nice to know that. So that was good. But overall, for a memoir, it felt a little superficial as a memoir. If I'm reading a memoir, in particular a memoir, as opposed to an autobiography, I want to really feel like I got to know the person a little bit, regardless of whether I really like them or not. And in this one, he comes across as a nice guy. He really likes life and love and laughing out loud. He's got some good things to say about tolerance and friendship and educating small children with some of these really important social concepts. But I just didn't feel I got to know him as a person at all. So I guess for a memoir that felt a little bit flat for me, and I don't know to what extent that was just not the point of this memoir. A lot of it is partly about the creator, Kevin Clash, but then part of it is about just like being Elmo and acting like a 3.5-year-old, and how Elmo interacts with kids and brings them out of their shells. So there's really good stuff in here. So it might be that just the point of this memoir was just not one that really kind of struck me as what I go to a memoir looking for, if that makes sense. And then it is something where he collaborated with another writer. So he collaborated with Gary Brozek to do this, and so I do find, in general, very loosely, that when a memoir is by the person that it's about, they're the only people who control the narrative and are really just writing what they feel. I think I don't know. To me, those are less superficial in a way, right? And ones that have a co-writer, who's not the person. I would say, in general, very loosely, they do tend to fall a bit more flat and a bit more on kind of the superficial surface level of things for me. So this was worth reading. If anybody's interested in Elmo and the guy behind Elmo, go right ahead and read it. I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying I didn't love it. It was a 3-star book for me. I'm glad I read it. I obviously, it wasn't a DNF for me. It was something I finished and enjoyed reading, but it's not up there with my 4- and 5-star books. Actually, all 3 books in this pile are things that I didn't deliberately set out to get. These are all library books. So because of quarantine, we haven't been, or because of the pandemic, we haven't been going to the libraries, and our library offers a remote contactless pickup, so you can order books online and then you go pick them up at the library. And so what I'll do with our almost 3-year-old is I would just open the library webpage, say, what do you want books about? And so one week she said Elmo, one week she said foxes. I forget how I ended up on Kingdom Hearts, but then I'll type in Elmo or Foxes into the search bar. We'll get a whole bunch of books, and then she just goes through saying, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one. And so, you know, this book, the Elmo one, has Elmo on the front, and so she goes, I want that one. And I'm not going to stop and explain to a kid who doesn't even understand what the internet is that she wouldn't like that book. I'm just going to click get it. It's a library book. We'll get it, we'll return it. But then I've been taking a look at some of these random things that she selects, because they are interesting. Like I said earlier, I read just about anything, any genre, any topic. So they're all definitely worth taking a look at for me. So this month I had My Life as a Furry Red Monster. So again, not a DNF. I did finish it. I did enjoy it. I'm glad I read it. Just not a top book for me. It was a 3-star book. And then Fox, the Book of Poems by Adrienne Rich, which was a DNF for me. I didn't find it relatable. And Kingdom Hearts, which again, a DNF. Just didn't grab me. So that's it for September.